A low, whispered voice echoed in the hospital room. I had already signed my solitude warrant. 72 years old, 0 visitors, a window that only showed the freezing lake. The doctor said, "Weeks, Robert, maybe days." I thanked him. Finally, silence. But the night I turned off the doorbell, a woman walked in without knocking. She carried a Polaroid from 1972 and a secret I buried in Vietnam. She spoke my full name, and the last word I never expected to hear. "I'm sorry. Now tell me, would you stay to find out why?" Burlington, Vermont. Autumn 2025. The maple leaves fall like red confetti onto the University of Vermont Medical Center parking lot. I count every one that hits the windshield from my room on the 4th floor. Day 1247 of my hospitalization. I am Robert Bob Callahan, former Staff Sergeant of the 101st Airborne. I came back from Vietnam in 1973 with a limp in my leg and a heart that never walked right again. My wife, Ruth, died giving birth to our daughter, whom I never held. The girl was secretly adopted. I signed the papers and disappeared. Since then, 0 letters, 0 calls, 0 Christmases. The cancer started in my left lung, the one I filled with Lucky Strikes to forget the smell of napalm. Now it has traveled to my liver, to my bones. The doctors talk about comfort. I translate. "Pack your bags, Callahan, it's a one-way trip." Every day at 3:17 p.m., the nurse Maggie changes the 4 and asks, "Any family to notify?" I answer. The only relative I had died on the operating table in 1972. She notes no contacts and leaves. At night, Lake Champlain reflects the city lights like a broken mirror. I stare out and think. When I fade out, no one will notice that one less light flickered. But then came the day the door creaked without knocking. A woman in her 50s walked in carrying a wine-colored wool coat and a yellowed Polaroid. Brown hair with streaks of gray, green eyes that I swore I had seen before. She stopped at the foot of the bed, took a deep breath, and said, "Hi, Dad. I brought the photo you took on the day I was born." I choked on the oxygen. The machine beeped. And for the first time in 50 years, I was afraid to die. Because suddenly, I wanted to live to find out the rest of the story. I am Grace. Grace Callahan. The surname hit me like a fragmentation grenade. I didn't dare ask how. I just stretched out my trembling hand and took the Polaroid. In the photo, me, 25 years old, uniform dirty with mud, smiling in the courtyard of the military hospital in Da Nang. In my lap, a baby wrapped in a white towel, green eyes open like 2 lakes. On the back, my handwriting from 1972. To Ruth. "If I don't make it back, tell her Daddy tried." Grace sat in the creaking plastic chair. "I've been looking for you for 38 years, Dad." The word Dad came out so naturally it hurt worse than the morphine. I wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to turn off the oxygen and disappear. Instead, I asked the only thing a coward asks. "Why now?" She opened her purse and took out a yellowed envelope. Inside, a letter I wrote to Ruth the day I signed the adoption papers. I don't deserve to be a father. I'm leaving her with whoever can give her real love. The blurred ink was my tear. Grace continued. My adoptive mother saved everything. When she died, she left a box with instructions. Deliver to Sergeant Callahan before he crosses the lake. I've been a volunteer nurse here for 12 years. I only found out you were a patient last week. The heart monitor spiked. Nurse Maggie rushed in. I raised my hand. It's okay. It's family. First time I had ever said that out loud. Grace held my hand. Hers was warm, full of veins I had never held. I didn't come to ask for anything. I came to give back what you lost. That night, she softly sang the song Ruth loved. Both Sides Now, by Joni Mitchell. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in decades, Lake Champlain didn't look like a tomb. It looked like a mirror where I could find myself again. Before leaving, she hung the Polaroid on the wall, right in front of the bed. To remind you that you were once someone's hero. I slept without dreaming of explosions. I woke up to the smell of coffee she left on the bedside table. And a promise I never thought I would make. Come back tomorrow, Grace. I have 50 years of stories only you deserve to hear. Day 2. Grace arrived at 10:03 a.m. with a portable record player and a scratched 1972 vinyl. A gift from my adoptive mom. She said you used to dance to this with Ruth in the kitchen. She dropped the needle. Take It Easy by the Eagles. I chuckled hoarse for the first time in years. The sound came out like gravel, but it was real laughter. She opened the window. The autumn air rushed in, heavy with burnt maple and icy lake. Breathe, Dad. Cancer hates fresh air. I obeyed. For the first time, the oxygen wasn't just tubing, it was life. Grace brought out a hardcover notebook. Rule number 1, one memory every day. You tell it, I write it. When you get tired, I'll read it back to you. I started with the worst. 1971. I lost my platoon at Hamburger Hill. I came back with 11 dog tags in my pocket. I still have them. She didn't cry. She just wrote in rounded, childlike script. Then she turned the page. My turn. When I was 7, I got a teddy bear and named him Sergeant Bob. I slept with him until I was 18. She pulled the bear out of her bag, one eye missing, stitched with red thread. I swallowed hard. It was the bear Ruth knitted at the hospital. At 2 p.m., the doctor walked in with a funeral look on his face. Robert, we need to talk about palliative care. Grace stood up. Dr. Patel, my father has an appointment scheduled with life. Come back tomorrow. The doctor awkwardly left. I laughed so hard I coughed up blood. She wiped it away with a handkerchief embroidered RNG. Ruth and Grace. That night, she projected a home video onto the white wall. Me, 25, filmed by Ruth on Super 8. Me teaching a baby to clap. The caption, her first Christmas, 1972. I cried without shame. Grace rested her head on my bony shoulder. You never left, Dad. It just took me 50 years to find you. Before I went to sleep, she hung a calendar on the wall. She marked it with a red pen. Day 1, laughter. Day 2, music. Day 3, surprise. I asked, what's coming on day 3? She smiled. You'll have to live to find out. When she left, the room was no longer empty. There was a spinning vinyl, a bear on the nightstand, and an old man who learned to wait for tomorrow. Day 5. Grace arrived in rubber boots and a waterproof envelope. Today is not a visit, Dad. It's a mission. She disconnected the oxygen for 4 minutes, just enough time for me not to pass out, put a hospital coat on me, and pushed the wheelchair to the service elevator. Destination, Lake Champlain's West Dock. The November sun was a copper coin tossed onto the water. Grace rowed a rented boat out to the middle of the lake. I was shaking, half cold, half dread. If I die here, at least it's with a view. She anchored, opened the envelope. Inside, a bottle of ginger ale, my vice in Vietnam, and a letter sealed with red wax. Addressed to Sergeant Callahan. Only open when you are ready to forgive. I broke the seal with my teeth. The handwriting was my mother's, who died in 1987. How? Grace explained. Grandma wrote it on her deathbed. She left it with the social worker. Deliver when he has someone who will take him to the lake. I read aloud, my voice cracking like thin ice. Son, you think you ran away from the war, but you ran away from yourself. Ruth called me before she died. Tell Bob the girl has his eyes and that love doesn't need permission. I kept silent out of cowardice. Today I ask, go back to the lake where we used to fish. Throw this letter in the water and let Champlain carry what you cannot bear. With love, the mother who never stopped waiting for you. Signed, Eileen Callahan, 1987. Grace held my hand. I cried like a child who misses the last bus home. She opened the bottle. We toasted with ginger ale. Ready to let go, Sergeant? I tore the letter into 1,000 pieces. I threw them out. The fragments danced on the surface like white leaves. A cold wind blew from Canada and took everything. On the way back, Grace whispered, you know what the lake taught me? Water doesn't hold grudges. It only reflects who you choose to be now. That night, back in the room, I hung a new Polaroid on the bulletin board. Me and Grace in the boat, me smiling with only 4 teeth. Below, in red pen, Day 5, forgiveness. Weight lost, 38 years. When she kissed my forehead, I said, Grace, if I only have one more day, let it be tomorrow with you. She answered, then let's make tomorrow last a lifetime. Day 11. I woke up with my chest on fire. The monitor screamed 42 beats. Grace hadn't arrived yet. For the first time in days, fear returned stronger than the morphine. At 8:17 a.m., Dr. Patel walked in with 4 residents. Robert, your heart is failing. We need to intubate or... I raised my bony hand. Wait until noon. My daughter promised day 11, surprise. They exchanged glances but conceded. Americans respect a veteran's promise. At 11:58 a.m., the door slowly opened. Grace walked in carrying a maple wooden box. Inside, 12 numbered envelopes from 1 to 12. One for every month I lost with you. She opened envelope 11. Inside, a cassette tape and a silver Walkman. She pressed play. My voice, 1972, recorded in Danong. Daughter, if you are listening to this, it's because I didn't make it back. I want you to know, every day on the front, I carried your weight in my pocket. When you are 50, play this and forgive me for not being strong enough to stay. Silence. The tape ended with a click. Grace cried silently. I cried loudly, a groan that made the monitor beep red. She knelt down. I brought more, Dad. Look. She opened the window. In the parking lot, 22 people in red coats. Each one held a giant letter. Together they spelled out, WELOVEYOUSGTBOB. Former comrades from the 101st, war widows I had helped, grandchildren I never knew. Someone turned on a loudspeaker. Sweet Caroline echoed across the lake. I raised my clenched fist like in 1973. They responded with a salute. Grace whispered, I posted your story in a veterans group. They drove 14 hours to be here. At 12:03 p.m., my heart stopped. I saw the tunnel, the light, Ruth waving. But I heard Grace scream, Come back, Dad. There's still hot coffee. 1 shock from the defibrillator. 2. 3. I opened my eyes on day 11, 12:07 p.m. Heartbeat, 61. Stable. Dr. Patel shook his head. I've never seen a heart choose to live because of a playlist. Grace taped a new Polaroid to the bulletin board. Me at the window, fist raised, 22 heroes down below. Below it, day 11 surprise. Heart restarted by collective love. That night, for the first time, I didn't ask for morphine. I asked for paper. I wrote a letter to every person in the parking lot. Grace promised to deliver them. Before I went to sleep, she said, Tomorrow is day 12 legacy, and you are going to be here to see it. I slept with the Walkman on my chest, listening to my own voice from 50 years ago saying, I love you to a daughter who had just saved me. Day 12. I woke up before sunrise. The lake was still a black mirror. Grace was already there in hospital scrubs, holding a hot pink laptop. Today is not a visit, Dad. It's a birth. She opened the laptop. Screen. A brand new website called sgtboblejcy.com background. The Polaroid from day 1, the baby and me. Headline in white letters. Every veteran deserves to be remembered. Start with my father. Grace scrolled the page. 127 stories submitted in 18 hours. Photos of grandchildren holding the letter I wrote on day 11. A map with red pins. From Seattle to Savannah, people who never saw me promising to visit a veteran on Christmas. You wanted to be forgotten, she said. I turned your fear into a movement. At 9 a.m., the room turned into a studio. Grace logged into Zoom. On the screen, 42 faces. Ex-soldiers, widows, nurses, a 10-year-old boy with his grandfather's dog tag. I coughed, adjusted the handkerchief on my bald head, and spoke. I planned to die invisible. You made me immortal. I promise. Every letter you write, I will answer until my last breath. And after that, Grace continues. The boy raised his hand. Sergeant Bob, can I call you Grandpa? I cried in front of 42 strangers who were already family. At 11 a.m., Dr. Patel walked in with an envelope. Exam result. Tumors shrank 42%. Heart stable. Partial remission. He looked at Grace. You are the medicine no lab manufactures. Noon. Grace revealed the final gift. A maple tree planted in the hospital courtyard. Bronze plaque. For Robert Callahan. Roots no one saw, leaves the whole world will see. Autumn 2025. We went down in the elevator. 22 people from day 11 were there, now with shovels and wildflower seeds. Each one tossed a scoop of dirt. I tossed the last one. My hand trembled, but the tree stood straight. Grace whispered, Every year, on your birthday, we will come back here. When you can't walk, I'll carry you. At 4 p.m., back in the room, the mural was packed. 18 new Polaroids. A drawing from the boy, me with a superhero cape. A beaded bracelet with the initials of all 42 people. I held the bracelet and said, Grace, I had 72 years of emptiness. You filled them in 12 days. If I die tomorrow, I die whole. She answered, You are not going to die tomorrow. You are going to live to see this tree turn red 50 autumns in a row. And I will be right beside you, holding your hand like you held mine on the day I was born. That night, for the first time, I turned off the sound monitor. The silence wasn't a tomb. It was a cradle. Before sleeping, I recorded a message on the website. If you are watching this, know, it is never too late. Find who you lost. Write the letter. Plant the tree. The lake always returns what you throw in with love. I closed my eyes. Lake Champlain reflected a full moon. And for the first time in 72 years, I wasn't a man dying alone. I was a man reborn in family. Day 17. 3:14 a.m. The cardiac monitor drew a flat line. Alarm. Rushing feet. Grace hadn't arrived yet. She was home sleeping after 16 straight hours by my side. I floated. I saw the room from above, nurses pressing on my chest, Dr. Patel shouting clear. The smell of ozone from the defibrillator. Then the tunnel returned, wider, clearer. At the end, Ruth was waving. Beside her, my mother Eileen. Behind them, the 11 boys from Hamburger Hill, clean uniforms, smiling like the day the picture was taken. Ruth held out her hand. Come, Bob. The table is set. Iced ginger ale. I took a step, but I heard a sound that didn't exist in the tunnel. Leaves. Thousands of red leaves falling. It was the tree in the courtyard. I saw Grace running barefoot across the lawn, pajamas wet with dew, screaming my name against the November wind. She burst into the room like a hurricane. She grabbed my cold hand and screamed louder than the alarm. Dad, you promised 50 autumns. The tree isn't even fully red yet. Something snapped inside me. A snap that wasn't bone, it was soul. I came back. The monitor beeped. 1 beep. 2. 87 beats. Dr. Patel fell back into a chair. Oh my God, he chose. Grace didn't let go of my hand. She was trembling so much that tears dripped onto my chest. I opened my eyes. First thing I saw, the day 1 Polaroid hanging, baby Grace smiling. Second thing, the window. The tree. On the tip of the highest branch, a single red leaf was swaying, stubbornly refusing to fall. I whispered, hold on, leaf. I'm coming back. At 6 a.m., the sun rose blood red. Grace opened the window. The cold wind blew in and carried the smell of the lake. The leaf detached. It flew. It landed exactly on my pillow. Grace picked up the leaf, placed it in a small glass jar. Day 17 rebirth. Proof that autumn doesn't kill, it just teaches you to fall with style. At 10 a.m., the room turned into a sanctuary. 42 people from the Zoom call crowded the hallway. The 10-year-old boy came in with a sign. Grandpa Bob 2 times 0 death. I raised my hand. Everyone fell silent. I said, voice firm like a sergeant. I saw the other side. It's beautiful. But there's a daughter here who still needs me to teach her how to ice fish. So death, respect this. I set the appointment, you don't. Laughter. Tears. Applause that echoed all the way to Canada. Dr. Patel brought the new test results. Tumors 72% smaller. Heart of a 30-year-old. Official explanation. Callahan miracle. Grace hung the red leaf on the mural, next to all the Polaroids. Below it, she wrote, when you think it's the end, look at the tree. There is always 1 leaf left for those who choose to stay. I looked at her, at the tree, at the lake that now shone gold. And I knew, the story wasn't over. It just changed seasons. Day 183. Spring 2026. I walked out of the hospital. Not limping. Walking. The Vietnam leg stopped hurting the day the tree sprouted lime green. Today, November 5th, 2026, marks exactly 1 year since Grace walked in without knocking. Lake Champlain is calm, mirroring a sky that looks painted by Norman Rockwell. The tree? Giant. Red leaves so vibrant they seem to shout, I'm still here. We come back every November 5th. Me, Grace, the boy who now calls me Grandpa, he's 11, and 38 new honorary grandkids, the website adopted. We have a picnic under the tree. The menu is fixed. Turkey sandwiches, Ruth's recipe. Iced ginger ale. Maple cake with 1 candle that we never blow out. Dr. Patel comes in his white coat, but sits on the ground like a child. He brought the latest test. Robert, you are officially the healthiest patient I have ever discharged. Diagnosis: cured by high-dosage love. Grace manages sgtboblegacy.org. Today's numbers: 4,127 veterans visited. 86 trees planted in 28 states. 2 illustrated children's books, The Leaf That Wouldn't Fall. 1 state law in Vermont. Reunion Day, every November 5th. Me. I woke up at 5 a.m., like in the barracks. I wrote 12 new letters. 1 for every month Grace gifted me. I tucked the last red leaf from 2025 inside the Bible Ruth carried. The page marked, Luke 15, the prodigal son who returned, and the father who never locked the door. At 6 p.m., The sun sets orange behind the tree. Grace turns on the portable projector. On the hospital wall, the video we filmed yesterday plays. Me, 73, teaching the boy how to cast a fishing lure into the lake. I miss. He hits the target. We laugh until our stomachs hurt. Final caption. It's never too late to learn to fish or to be a father. When the video ends, 200 people applaud. I stand up. I hold the microphone with the same hand that once held 11 dog tags. I say only this. I thought I would die alone. You proved to me that loneliness is just a door we forget to open. If you are watching this and you have a father, a daughter, a friend who dropped off the map, call. Right. Go. The lake always returns what you throw in with courage. And if a stubborn old man like me could be reborn, you can too. Silence. Then a spontaneous choir. Sweet Caroline, echoing all the way to the mountains. I dance with Grace. Slowly. 2 steps to the left, 1 toward the heart. When the music stops, I kiss her forehead. Daughter, you saved me. She replies. Dad, you taught me that saving is mutual. The camera zooms in on my face. Wrinkles, scars, green eyes just like hers. I smile directly at you on the other side of the screen. It's up to you now. Plant your tree. Write your letter. Open your door. Because life doesn't end when the doctor says weeks. It restarts when someone walks in without knocking, and stays. Fade out on the lake reflecting stars. The last red leaf from 2025 drifts down slowly. It lands on the water. It doesn't sink. It floats. And it continues its journey. Just like us. Take a deep breath. You felt it, didn't you? That tightness in your chest that says, I deserve to start over too? So do this right now. Grab your phone. Text hi to the person you silenced. Subscribe to the channel, that red button down there. Hit the bell icon to receive the next miracle. Comment, I'm going to plant my tree in. Let's make 2026 the biggest red autumn in history. I'll see you in the next video. The door is open. Walk right in. Love you, stranger. Sergeant Bob and Grace Redheart.